So what we're going to talk about today is specifically geared to Facebook and Instagram ads. I do loads of testing with my clients when I work with them on their ads and in my own business. But the bottom line is there are some simple ways to do testing. I mean, there are so many variables to testing Facebook and Instagram ads. It's crazy because they've got so many placements and so many different angles that you can go now. So we're going to talk about a 3x3 method that's very simplified. And then this will help you be able to test your ads better. If you're not running ads and you're not familiar with your ads manager, I recommend going into the units and going back through some of the trainings that I did prior, because we do talk about that in this group. We've talked some about ads. We've talked about ad set level, campaign level. I do have a full-blown training program for Facebook ads called Ads ROI Academy. And you can find that at adsroiacademy.com. So that goes way deeper into the how to do all these different pieces. But I will be talking about the ads manager today quite a bit. So let's get into it. I'm going to go ahead and stay on the screen, but I'm going to be looking at my screen too to share this with you. And I do have a chart I'll share with you in a minute. But basically, the 3x3 method is just, it's a formula that we use where we test 3 different audiences. So meaning that would be 3 different cold audiences that you think would be your target audience, 3 different creatives, and 3 different copies. So what do I mean by all these? Let's break them down based on each variable first. So the audiences, we test that first if we have a lot to go with. And what do I mean by that? If it's a local business, like I've worked with a lot, right now I'm working with a lot of the housing category where there's a lot of rules on it. And so you can't reach a large audience, especially when you geo-target it to a certain location. So here's the deal with that. We then start with testing one audience and multiple creative. But if you can go all of the United States or a bigger region, then you can have more to play with when it comes to the audiences. So if you can do that, then I would recommend starting with audiences. So what you would do is you would create 3 different ad sets with 3 different audiences. Okay, so I'll repeat that. 3 ad sets, 3 audiences. You do the research, and I've taught you about audience insights. Go into audience insights inside Facebook Ads Manager, do some research, figure out 3 different audiences that you could target. And you want to take the exact same creative. So meaning if you think this video you created is going to work the best, then take that one video and then take one write-up, one copy, okay? And you are going to test. So the creative has to be exactly the same and the copy has to be exactly the same. But the 3 audiences are going to be what's tested. Now, that's how we start with an ad. So let's say one audience is way less expensive than the other 2. Well, then turn the other 2 off and go with that audience. Now that you have that, that's layer 1. That's 3x3 method, that's layer 1. Now, layer 2, you will test creative. Creative is worth testing 3 creatives, if not more. We do up to as many as 10, not typically 10 though. I'm trying to keep it very simple for you, so we can leave it at 3. But you can go higher than that with testing a bunch of different graphics. So now you have one audience at ad set level, but at ad level, that's where your creative is. You will test two, let's say graphics and 1 video. That's my typical. So 2 graphics, 1 video. But for instance, the mortgage company I'm working with right now, we just had 3 different videos going. We never even tested graphics. You could do it that way too. Or you could test 3 different graphics, no video. Don't recommend it. I recommend having at least 1 video in the testing, okay? Very, very important to be testing video on every campaign that you run. Video is so, so important. Okay, so that is the 3 creatives. Now, once you know, let's just say, for instance, the video worked the best. Okay, now the video worked the best and you know that. So you've narrowed down that audience, you've narrowed down that video, but now what's layer 3? The offer, the copy. So if you can change out different offers with that same video, then maybe you want to have 3 different write-ups, 3 different types of offers, for instance. Or you can just try a long copy, which means a lot of words, like a whole lot of words, and short copy, which is just maybe 1, 2, or 3 lines. Now that's 2 variables. Then I would add a third. Just do 3 different write-ups, 3 different copies. And now that's the variable that you're going to test. I'm going to share my screen with you so you can see the let's see, I have this pulled up. I actually have this live on I just launched it 5 minutes ago, and it is live on my blog. So you can go to janetejohnson.com and you can see it. And in there, you also see this graphic. So this is the 3x3 ad testing formula. Okay, now there are more layers in this I want to bring up that I bring up in my post, but this is a great way to do the testing. Now, like I said, I mentioned if you're a smaller audience, a very small audience, and it's very tight, and you don't have a lot of audiences to play with, you could start with testing that creative. There's no rules here on if you have to test audiences first or if you have to test the creative first. And there's no rule that it has to be 3. But I wouldn't go much further than that, because especially if you're under $10 per day, I mean, that's pretty low to test 3 different audiences. My recommendation would be each audience is $10 each audience. So that would be $30 per day. Creatives is a little bit different. You can do that on $10 a day, and the copy is a little bit different. So hopefully you understand the layers on this. I want to talk about further testing past the 3x3 ad testing. But this is the main thing. I mean, really, if you can nail that audience, number 1 importance, then nail that copy, that creative. The creative is can constantly be tested. I mean, right now we had 3 different videos, and now we're doing 3 new different videos with the mortgage company. So we're constantly testing new things. The one thing I will say is with the mortgage company that I'm working with, they are doing extremely well with their ads right now. Very, very well. They're getting leads per every day. It's flowing. It's going very, very well at a great cost. But they wanted to test longer ads. Well, longer videos, sorry. And so we put in those new videos, and it's great to test things, but I kept the other one rolling, and it's still working much better, the old ones. So here's the thing too. Once you get this rolling, it's time to scale and move up. Instead of just going, oh, I got to keep testing. I got to test this. I got to change things. You know what? If you get an ad working, you start putting more money behind it and scale it up instead of just continuously testing. This is kind of more for the beginning of an ad, but you could always constantly test. But once you have this nailed down and you're getting a great cost, then get it scaled up. But these are the things you should be doing, and not just launching 1 audience with 1 creative with 1 copy. Don't do that. Don't make that mistake. It's not enough. And that's why companies come to me and they say, yeah, I tried Facebook ads, they didn't work. Well, you know what? How much testing did you do? How much money were you willing to spend to take the time to test? It does take time at times. Sometimes it happens overnight, great, but many times it doesn't. So the 3x3 testing method works great. So as I said, narrow it down 1 by 1 at a time. Once you have it, then you can scale up and go to the next layer. So I'll share my blog post with you and talk about the other pieces that are in there. So I go down and I explain this in detail. So if you want to go there and read it, you definitely can. So after I finish the 3x3 method and I have all those variables and I know which is working the best, and sometimes things tie a little bit. For instance, sometimes I have 1 graphic and 1 video so close in the cost for my goal. Usually my goal is per lead, but then I'll keep them both running. Why not? You know, you can keep a couple creatives running to mix it up. And if they're both working very similarly, you can definitely do that. Now, the next piece that we do is we'll look at placement. So you can do that by going into your ads manager. There's a breakdown area. And in there, under breakdown, you can go to placement. And then you can see the placement, the platform. Those are two of the top ones. Depending on your business, if you're a housing category, you can't narrow down on this, but you can also narrow based on if age, male, female. You can narrow if let's say you're noticing that ages 45 and up is absolutely performing way better. Well, then I would create a new ad, a brand new ad set there with 45 and up with the other criteria that you already tested, and just see if that really, is the audience and working better. The other layer that you can do is placement. So meaning Instagram, Facebook, mobile, desktop, where there's so many options for placements. There's so many options for placement. We've talked about Instagram stories ads. That's another thing that I would test separately. So there's lots of different layers here, but those are your secondary layers after you know your audience is creative and copy. So I know I was talking really fast. The good news is I have a blog post. What are your questions here? Any questions at all regarding this? We want to simplify it. And the bottom line is, if you are running ads, you do need to test. Absolutely, positively need to be testing. And those are very simple ways to just see which is the best audience, which is the best creative, which is the best copy. Now, like I said, many times you'll see Facebook is number one. Not many times the feed on Facebook is number one. Instagram can be more expensive, and it depends on your business. But when I launch ads, I do launch all placements now, but I do also go in and narrow it down after it's run for a little bit. And I narrow down to, is mobile really working a lot less expensive? Because it will tell you your cost per lead when you go into breakdown. And it will say, this lead on Instagram mobile costs $2.50. Let's just throw out a number. But on Facebook mobile, it costs $1.50. Let's just throw that number out. So obviously, if it's costing $1 less, then we might want to go with Facebook. There's a lot of variables there, but you definitely want to check on your placements. Mobile tends to be the best, but not always. So you definitely want to see. And sometimes Marketplace is another place that does very well. Trying to think of other ones. Third-party video platform can do pretty well too. There's quite a few that it's important to just check it and see. And then if it looks like it's kind of the same across the board, then just leave it and don't change anything. Just because you're running the ads doesn't mean you always have to change things. If it's working, if it's not broken, don't fix it. That's the bottom line. But you always, let's say it's working now and you check it in a week and it's suddenly the price just skyrockets and goes up, which happens a lot. Well, then you want to check your ads. Check them again and again. I see a couple of people that are on here that I work with that I know exactly what I'm talking about. So we talk about this all the time, that we're checking the ads constantly. It was working, now it's not working. And it's something that, okay, what now do we need to retest and look at to fix this ad? Facebook's algorithm is changing all the time. So no matter what, it changes. But bottom line is you got to pay attention. Hope you got a lot out of it. I talked super fast today. I don't know why, but it's something that I guess it's something I work with day in and day out. And I think it's very important for you guys to be managing too. So go to the website, janetjohnson.com/blog, and you can read the entire post and you can get all the details there and learn that 3x3 method. And let me know in this group how it's going for you. If you are testing it and using the 3x3 method, I would love to hear how it's going. All right, thanks Joanne, and thank you all for joining me. I'm sure many will watch on the replay, and I will be back next week. Thanks a lot. Have a good one.